Hello, it's April 4th, 2026, 4/4. Haven't done a video in a long time. I have been working in the garden more in the last few weeks, putting some mulch down around some things. There's just the very beginnings of some flowers here with the Nanking Cherries and daffodils mostly. You'll see a few of those around, and some other things are starting to leaf out. But the main flower show won't happen for another week or a few weeks. But I'm not going to do a real long video today because there's not that much to show. But have been putting some mulch down around things, and I've been encouraged by the growth on some things, like some of the pawpaws I have in the back. More mulch. This little Nanking cherry is going to flower, put a few flowers on that one too. Those are white fruited varieties supposedly, but yeah, I did my path mulching more so in the last few years. I haven't really done any of that this year. The paths are probably good for another year maybe, but some of these main crop things needed a refresh on the mulch. So like this cultivar hazelnut, and there's a currant and another currant and serviceberry, gumi. So haven't grafted anything yet. That's not going to happen for a while. But just lots of mulching, moving mountains of wood chips, many pickup truck loads and wheelbarrow loads. There's a rabbit just ran through. Gave a good mulching to that gumi. Hasn't had one in a while. Now I should be digging up some things like these daylilies and transplanting those out. You know, right now is a good time of year while they're small, or monarda or things like that, before they get too advanced in the growth. I did cut down some of my bunch grass over there. I didn't do these over here yet. Probably won't do that for a little while. But you can see daffodils or Nanking cherries. So let's see, what should we look at here? Oh, this forsythia is about to go. You can see the lower branches have a few flowers. And the air prune bed, boy, my little seedling gummies look like they had a rough winter. I don't know if they're going to pull through. All the leaves are kind of brown looking. The elderberries look fine. No worse for the wear. Those are doing great. But yeah, the gummies look kind of tough, so we'll see if they made it or not. Kind of wrapping up this flowering on the willows here. These willows anyway. Let's see if we can see any. Now it's been raining the last few days, so everything looks kind of soaked and ragged, but you can sort of see the flower remnants on these. And these have been growing pretty well. Now I think I might fence this garden this year. I kind of staked it out, and I think if I can fence this little area, which used to be a vegetable garden, I could grow and maintain a lot of things that I've historically not been able to keep alive because of deer pressure over here. There's more daffodils. Stinging nettles are coming on. So I will walk over here and show you I did some mulching on these pawpaws. Another Nanking cherry. Some rodent planted that one for me. But yeah, it's good to get the mulch out, you know, while there's some moisture in the ground, and before the grass really gets a foothold in its growing season, because a lot of the annoying grasses I have are real early season grasses. Well, I've got both early and late season annoying grasses, but anyway, to get the edge up on some of them. So these pawpaws, I was pleasantly surprised to discover that a couple of grafts that I did, I don't know, 3 years ago maybe, I'm not sure how many years ago, are still alive. And so actually I've cut down some more of the suckers around here, and these two, which were grafted and did survive, now those are a little close to each other, so I'm going to be taking out some of this redundant stuff that's just sort of filler, like these sassafras, young sassafras. This catalpa is kind of expendable. This was a pawpaw sucker that I grafted, and that is growing okay. A couple more suckers I've left. I'll leave a few suckers, but I don't want it to be a real thicket of suckers. Now this pawpaw here, this had some fruit last year, and the year before actually too. So that one I'm happy with. That's a great one. So I mulched those up a little bit, and this one here I gave a little mulch. This is an oikos one that's got kind of bigger leaves. And then that one had fruit last year too, which was really nice. And there's, I believe, maybe another one over there, and there's a few more over here. And several of these are, you know, at the flowering age now, which is exciting. You know, they will sometimes bear flowers for a few years and then not set fruit. But we'll see, you know, what happens with the frosts and things. But this one, you probably can't see, but there are flower buds, plenty of flower buds on that one. And you can see these sumacs here have kind of fallen over. Sumacs are an ephemeral, short-lived species, early succession. And actually, I was surprised too. This one I think I grafted. You can sort of see there the whip and tongue graft. That is a surviving graft, so I will probably cut this watermelon. This is on the south side of that pawpaw, and whack that down mostly. It'll regrow and give that pawpaw some more sunlight to keep growing. Now, let's see. Do I have any ramps still alive over here? This was my little woodland garden, spring ephemerals and things. There's not a heck of a lot still alive. There's some little purple flower things. I had some ramps over here. I can't remember the name of that one. Maybe garlic mustard is coming in. Anyway, my ramps, the few ramps I had don't seem to be showing here, so whatever that means. I have other ones that I've got that are growing pretty well, so maybe these got wiped out by something. So I'm not going to, like I say, linger too far anywhere, but I want to show a few things around the place. You'll see there's still tree tubes on a lot of trees, my chestnut trees and some of these trees over here from the winter time, from deer rubbing season. So that's okay, they can stay on for a while longer. I've got a good gumi graft there onto autumn olive. That's it's double graft. Let's walk over here and see these Cornelian cherries that are flowering. So yeah, I've moved substantial piles of mulch around, especially to things that were just planted in the last few years that maybe really need a boost. Things that are, you know, older, like this chestnut here. This is 10 years old or something. It doesn't really need that much help to keep it alive at this point, hopefully. Or you wouldn't think so anyway. So over here, I'm on deer trail, and you can see maybe it's pretty severe gnawing over the winter on these sumacs from rabbits, probably rabbits and maybe mice on the snow. And in some areas, it's just, man, I'm glad that the sumacs are there to give these things something to eat over winter, because otherwise they might be eating all my trees. So again, not in the best light because of the wetness and sort of drab weather, but these Cornelian cherries, Cornus moss, are flowering. There's another one over there. I've had a few fruits off these, not too many so far, because well, there's only 2 of them, and I think, you know, they should be pollinating each other because they both have been flowering for a few years, but pretty light fruit set so far. It could be, you know, the weather's a little iffy this time of year too. There's some more gnawing on this Amorpha fruticosa. But yeah, you'll see a lot of tree wraps still on these chestnuts. That's from the winter. Here's an apple. Whoa, man, the water table is way high. We have had lots of rain, and this is as high as I've seen the water table in quite a while. You can see there's some willows that have seeded in here over the years on their own, you know, because it's a wet spot, a depression. But damn, that's like a foot and change below the surface of the ground. So that's makes me a little nervous for things like chestnuts that do not like to have wet feet. But you know, nothing I can do about that really. So if the chestnuts are not going to make it here, I guess they're not going to make it. But so far, a lot of them have been here for 15 years and they're still going. So that gives me some hope. But you know, nothing would surprise me in terms of weather and climate and disasters. So I don't ever take anything for granted. Here is a gumi onto autumn olive, and that one I'm hoping at this size, that's probably been 2 years grafted, hoping it'll fruit this year. And here's Illinois everbearing mulberry, and I should have taken some scions off this. And you can see it's really not healed over yet. I've been keeping the top of it kind of cut back just so that it doesn't snap that graft off. And here you can see, pretty well-worn deer trail. Now there is some sort of surface water over there behind my neighbor's house. That's indicative of a pretty high water table. So he's a little lower than I am. And this chestnut growing great. I do have a patch of ramps back there. I may have helped that along over the years. I think actually I did not start that patch though. So here, chestnuts, chinkapins, here's a white birch, here's some pecans up here and some persimmons. Some of these are grafted persimmons that I've grafted. These two are pecans, there's some more pecans. This persimmon is grafted. Now I'm really hoping, I'm gonna wipe my camera lens off for a second because it looks like it's got a drop of water on it. Okay, hopefully I got it. This was a pretty cold winter this last winter, colder than it has been in a while. And I'm hoping that I don't lose my persimmon grafts because they're sensitive to very cold temperatures. And if my minimum thermometer can be trusted, I haven't verified its accuracy, but it says it got at least 20 below here this winter, possibly 25 below. Hopefully that's not true, but here's a pawpaw. No, well, maybe a flower bud or two on this one at this size. This is about 6.5 feet tall. This one here is about the same height. And, if not this year, within the next year or two, those probably are good candidates for flowering. Now this one here is big enough that it should have flowers, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't expect anything. It's always nice when something does finally bear, but I've learned not to be too have high expectations of anything. This apple, that whole top is a graft that I did. It's probably been at least 10 years ago. There's a pear I grafted, another wild apple I grafted, chestnut I grafted back there, Japanese walnut here. Here's another beautiful graft of Gumianta autumnal. This has got to be 2 or 3 years old, and this one's got massive growth on it. So if this sucker fruits this year, that's going to be great. And it looks like the graft is about, there. I don't know if that was a bark inlay or what, but you've got to kind of come back once or twice a year and keep the rootstock, the autumn olive rootstock, from trying to take over the graft. And once you do that, it seems pretty straightforward. They seem to take pretty readily, and not too hard to do if you can do apples or pears. So this oak savanna area back here, now not a heck of a lot. In this front part, you can see the grass thatch. That makes me real nervous because it's so like a tinderbox. It's, if somebody drops a match back here, this whole back 40 is going to go up real quick. So I may have to start managing this differently if I can't do controlled burns, which would be a little tricky given the density of plantings. May have to do more of a mowing regimen, which I'm not that excited about, but more mulch back here. You'll start to see some things that got mulched yesterday. These are hazelnuts and chestnuts, new chestnuts that were planted maybe 3 years ago, and they need metal cages now because they are finally getting, the ones that are still alive are getting to the tops of their little tree tubes, and it's that time, so the deer are starting to take interest. So yeah, I've got to come back with a dozen or two of the metal 4 or 5 feet of a 2x4 welded wire cages to get those protected, give them a fighting chance against the deer. So here we are at the back of the old property line. This hedgerow is still looking a little sorry. It hasn't grown up too well. But another area of interest before we sign off here is this persimmon area. So I've been real excited about persimmons. They're my favorite fruit that can grow here. I've had a few from my trees. Last year there were none on any of these trees back here because of the weather last year and the frosts probably. I had frost in early June last year. So somehow that maybe killed back some of the growth that was starting on these. But you'll see here maybe, I probably brought at least four truckloads, maybe 5, to this area back here. And so this has all got a nice blanket of mulch. You know, this is only about a third maybe of the persimmon planting here that got this mulch this year. But I probably don't have the time and energy to do it all, or the wood chips actually, to do it all. So I'm just kind of working my way, but you can see over here it's like thick, dense, little blue stem grassland. So I don't want that. You know, I want, this year I may start mowing in here actually. You know, maybe the wood chips will suppress the grass enough and the dewberries that I can get away with not mowing this season. But probably if not this year, next year, I'm gonna start mowing back here. It'll probably become more like a lawn, which is not my favorite aesthetic or maintenance, but persimmons, you know, they fall on the ground when they're ripe, and you don't want to be tearing your hands up with these freaking dewberries that just have a million little microscopic thorns everywhere and stick readily into your fingers. So that's not what I want to be messing with harvesting persimmons. So anyway, this will get mowed eventually. I sowed a bunch of white clover seed back here. We'll see if any of that takes. It was kind of older seed. What else? Oh, and I think another reason I brought the wood chips in is because I put so many logs and so much woody debris down in the last few years that to make it, you know, here where you can see I haven't mulched, it looks pretty rough and irregular. So to try to smooth the topography out a little bit is part of the reason for the wood chips also, but really just to give all this stuff a great boost and a nice shot of growth hopefully this year. So I've got many candidates for grafting still here. I have ordered some more cyan wood from Buzz Fervor, and I still got some from last year from Cliff, England in my fridge if it's still viable. I'm not sure if it is or not. Probably not. It's a little iffy. But I'm going to graft a bunch more this year. Now I'm praying that my grafts from the last 2 or 3 years don't all die from this winter. But again, I don't know. We'll see. They'll come back to life or they won't. Yeah, I've got a little standing water almost. So yeah, it's a little squishy. This is high water event. It's been real rainy, and my rain gauge, I stupidly didn't bring it in over the winter, and it looks fine, but there's like a microscopic crack in it somewhere that it's not holding water accurately, so I've got to either fix it or get a new one. But yeah, this is maybe only the second time in the 16 or 17 years that I've been doing this garden here that the ground's been squishy like this. So yeah, this is a high water event for us here. And the hedgerow is not waking up too much, just the Nanking cherries. The service berries are starting to show a little action. You'll see it's not going to be too long on the service berries. Maybe within a week they'll have some white color on them. And hazelnuts they were flowering a month or 2 ago, but they're really nondescript. You know, you wouldn't notice those flowers from any distance. You have to be there with a magnifying glass to almost see those. So yeah, I'm not gonna make it a long video, but anyway, I just wanted to show a glimpse of what things were looking like. Here again, my fence idea. So this would be a corner post, that bucket would be the other corner post, and kind of encircle this garden and try to wrangle it back from the grass and crap that it is. It's kind of taken over in here due to deer browsing and neglect. And you can't see now, it's sort of fading, but this quince got nailed pretty hard with browsing by rabbits over the winter, and you can see all the rabbit poop on the ground. So I should, if I were smart, be cutting off branches of things like apple trees, laying them down where I want the rabbits to feed and deposit fertilizer, and then I'd be a little smarter than I am, but so far that hasn't happened. Okay, hope everyone is doing great and having a good spring. I'm looking forward to the growing season, hopefully, and encouraged about my pawpaws and my persimmons especially. Those are the 2 things I'm probably most excited about this year. And the perennials, they just keep getting better every year. So if you plant it, and you get it to survive the deer browsing and rubbing years, then there's not a heck of a lot more you have to do with it. A little bit of pruning, a little bit of mulch maybe, a little bit of fertility maybe. But that's kind of the beauty of these systems. So Everyone's doing great. I'll talk to you later. Bye.